But first, many members of Congress are pushing the Justice Department to release all of the remaining files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Friday, the DOJ released thousands of pages of documents, but take a look at your screen. CBS News found at least 550 pages were fully redacted. Some lawmakers are criticizing the move, saying all of the files should have been released in accordance with a law signed earlier this year. The Justice Department says that was to protect the innocent. Over the weekend, we heard from the bipartisan sponsors who led the push in the House to release the files. Here's what they told our Margaret Brennan about the partial release.
They sent a 6-page memo to Congress and said they cited pre-existing laws as reasons that they weren't going to follow our law. For instance, our law requires them to release information regardless of embarrassment, but they are trying to say that a previous law prevails when it doesn't.
The problem is this was a slap in the face of survivors. What do they want? They want to know who are the rich and powerful men who visited Epstein's rape island and covered up the abuse. And the key documents that our law basically said needed to be released, the 60-count indictment that actually implicates a lot of these people, and the prosecution memo were not released. It's not about the timeline, it's about the selective concealment.
For more on this, let's bring in CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen. So Jake, Friday was the deadline to release all of the files. That didn't happen. The administration said Friday it was to protect the victims, give them ample time to redact. But we heard from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche again Sunday about this. What did he say?
Well, Lindsay, what was in what has been released is a lot of information connecting Jeffrey Epstein to powerful individuals. A lot of it is very vulgar and detailed testimony about victims, but through FBI agents testifying in front of grand juries and some reports that were given. Here's what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said on another network about why the Department of Justice did not release all of these hundreds of thousands of files at once.
Many of those internal communications talk about victims. Many of those internal back and forth between prosecutors and law enforcement talk about victims and their stories. And that has to be redacted. And by the way, everybody expects us to redact that. So the same complaints that we're hearing yesterday and even this morning from Democrats and from others screaming loudly from a hill about lack of production on Friday, imagine if we had released tons of information around victims. That would be the true crime. That would be the true wrong.
And we saw Representative Khanna say in the clip earlier that prosecution memos about why the Department of Justice did not prosecute Jeffrey Epstein in the 2000s was not released, as well as victims' direct testimony to FBI agents. That also was not released, something to be on the lookout for in the next coming days and weeks.
I want to hear from one of the victims who talked about what the redactions meant to her. Let's play that.
There's been a lot of effort and money and time put into redactions, not to protect victims, but to protect people in power.
In addition to those redactions, CBS News found more than a dozen files released Friday were later taken off the DOJ's website. What happened there?
Well, the key photo, Lindsay, was one that actually included President Donald Trump. In addition to former President Bill Clinton, there was a drawer that a photo was taken of, including some pictures that was posted and then deleted. The Department of Justice said that it's because the Southern District of New York and prosecutors there who are still operating under the assumption that there could be criminal charges brought against any additional information or anyone else who could be brought up in these files or any additional information that could be coming in, that they flagged some pictures, including pictures of naked women and paintings of naked women on Jeffrey Epstein's walls of different homes he has, that they were flagged and alerted to that. Those pictures came down. Some of those pictures have come up, but still shows, Lindsay, that there's a lot of information that people want access to. And as soon as you take that away, questions will continue to bubble up. And those questions are still unresolved for much of the public, and at least reporters here who spent the weekend looking at hundreds of thousands of pages and are waiting for some of these big potential documents of what victims had to say to law enforcement. Did they name any of these other powerful men that we've seen these victims like Ms. Farmer and also these representatives point to as potential people who were never charged alongside of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell during these probes?
Jake Rosen, thank you.